I can see both sides. The fact that they had so many injuries and at key areas, you can't hide away from that. A lot left for Højlund up top as well. You know, a young boy. I think he got 16 all comps. You know, it's unfair to lead the line for Manchester United when you have your first season. He's still learning the game. That, I think he had a bit handicap there. Luke Shaw. Martinez was out for long periods. Johnny Evans, how many games did he play? Onana. I mean, it seems as though things slowly but surely got better for him, but he didn't have a great season, throwing some in. There's a lot of things there that are out of his control. One thing that you can't defend is how bad some of those performances were. Terrible. I mean, just nothing like Man United you would expect to see. So he's got to turn that around. A few things goes his way, keep a few players fit, get a few players in. United, I mean, there's another one, but Mason Mount. How many games did he play last season? He was injured for the vast majority of it, right?
Yeah, Luke
Hardly
Shaw,
played.
Martinez, they had some big injuries.
Yeah. And then players like Amrabat, who didn't, I don't think really...
Come on, mate.
He's not...
He wasn't good enough.
No, that's the point I mean. Amrabat has not...
No, but Ten Hag brought these players in, right? People like we had that caller before phoning up saying, you know, Anthony's got to go. But I'm chuffed to bits that Ten Hag's staying. Well, he brought Anthony in. That's part of his job as managing Man United.
Well, he's got another chance to get it right now, hasn't he? He's got a chance to get it right. Get the best out of him. Best thing about United last season was Garnacho, for me. He's got to get a tune out of Rashford as well. What's going to happen there, by the way? That is a big next 6 months for both of them and Rashford, isn't it? Rashford lost his place in the England squad. Ten Hag now got to get a tune out of him because it's inexplicable how Rashford can go from being the player he was the year before to being the shadow. There's a lot of things that are at his control, a lot of things in his control. He's just got to make sure those things are in his control. He's got to do better.
All right, let's go to the presenter of Stretford Paddock now, Man United YouTube channel. Jay Motty joins us. All right, Jay.
All right, Jay.
Hi, lads. You okay?
Yeah, good, mate. Look, obviously big news for you and your football club. How are you feeling about it?
I'll be honest with you, I'm glad. I wanted Erik Ten Hag to stay. I get your point. I heard you talking then about the sort of the poor performances in the league last season and finishing 8th, and you can't, excuse all that. But I think we have had a lot of injuries, and I think when he's had players fit, you saw what he's capable of. You saw it in that first season, saw it in the FA Cup run, obviously the win against City and the win against Liverpool as well on the way to that. And I think that when you look at some of the other managers we were being linked with, none of them really filled me with much sort of hope that they were going to improve things. So I'd like to see Erik Ten Hag being given a chance under Ineos, under this new structure, where we have proper football people in charge of footballing decisions instead of, bankers and people like that we've had in the past. Okay. And hopefully we can move forward.
Yeah, but here's a question for you, Jay. Are you only keeping him because there's no managers out there that fancy it? I mean, like Bayern Munich have been having a nightmare trying to get a manager. You can't tell me that Sir Jim Ratcliffe ain't been speaking to other gaffers. And obviously the right gaffer hasn't come along. So you're like, oh, you know what? We'll stay with Ten Hag. Is that really what you want from your football club?
I don't think it's been handled well at all. I've been saying that. I think it's been a bit embarrassing, to be honest with you. Keep hearing all these reports. One point we were meant to be talking to Kieran McKenna, then he signs a deal at Ipswich. Then it's meant to be Thomas Tuchel, then he says he's not coming back to a football club. Then we were linked with Thomas Frank, I think, this morning. So it doesn't look great, just from the optics of it all. It looks a bit like you're saying there, we may as well stick with this manager. But they might, I think the line that Ineos are running is they did the due diligence. They looked at who was available and they've settled with Erik Ten Hag because they think he's the best man for the job. If you believe that or not, it's up to you. However, he is in the job now. He's the manager I wanted to see anyway. He is in the job. Now we've got to back him properly because I know you were talking about the Anthony signing and one or two signings that haven't worked out. Sometimes you need a manager to be reined in a little bit. Sometimes you need someone above him who can scout players for him, who can suggest players for him. And I think there hasn't been enough of that at Manchester United. They've just sort of let him run with the players he's wanted to bring in. And some of them have been a success. I know he's been injured, but Lisandro Martinez, for example, has been a good player when he's played. Others, like Anthony, as you mentioned, haven't been. So I just think with this proper structure in place, I think there's a manager there that we've seen when everyone is fit, what he's capable of. He is capable of beating very good teams. He did it in his first season and he did it in that FA Cup run. And hopefully he can do it again next season.
Yeah, when you look through the spine of the team, Martinez, Mainu, no one's really mentioned him, how brilliant he has been, Fernandes, and if you start getting Rasmus Højlund to look like the centre forward that he certainly shows a lot of promise, if you can get that right and one or two players around it and everyone stays fit, there is something there. There is definitely something there, but as I said, I don't know how much you heard. Garnacho is another one. He's got to get someone out of Rashford if he stays.
Yeah, Rashford's been a strange one because obviously in his first season under Erik Ten Hag, he had his best ever season in terms of goals. I think it was 30 goals and another 12 assists or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then last season, I think it was 8 goals in all competitions. Just looked
shadow.
It looked like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. He really did. One of the reasons I sort of have faith in Ten Hag is when he's had everyone fit, we have looked like a good team. I'd be more worried if we had everyone fit and then we were still looking terrible like we have done when we've been missing key players. So that's one reason I think if we can get players fit, if we can bring in a couple more players as well, there's a manager there that can do well because he's done well in the past.
Yeah, I mean, look, where do they go then in terms of signings, in terms of the structure? I mean, what changes do you think you'll see?
I don't think he's going to have as much control over transfers as he's had in the past. I think that's the one thing that Ineos have been pretty hot on. I think you'd be looking at someone like Jason Wilcox, Dan Ashworth, I think we're still waiting for him to take over, but it looks like he's going to. And Omar Barada, of course, coming from Manchester City. I expect those people to have more of a say than the previous regime did, where it was just like, have more of a say in transfers than Erik Ten Hag did previously, where it seemed like whoever he wanted, the club would just go out and get. So that could be a little bit of I think that could be a help for Erik Ten Hag, because sometimes you need someone above you to say, look, we've got players here that can fit into your system, that can perform for you, not just players you've seen in the Dutch league that you think can do it in the Premier League, because some of them haven't been capable of it.
Jay, what about the squad itself? Because it was quite a damning indictment, the fact that players were missing and the ones that came in were so bad. You know, there's going to be strength in that word. Strength in depth is used so often, but I think none more so can you look at Man United and say there is a big lack in strength in depth in that squad.
No, you're right. And I remember at one point last season, I looked at the bench, and I'm a United fan, for the club for years, and there was people on the bench I'd barely heard of. Yeah. I'm not having to dig at them. There were youngsters that I was having to Google. You shouldn't have that at a club like Manchester United. I mean, these are good players, but the youngsters not ready yet. And yet, that was the sort of players we were having to rely on because, as you mentioned, we didn't have the strength in depth. So the club have got to go out. I know that it's going to be difficult because you've got restrictions on how much money you can spend. But we need to strengthen. We do. We need a bigger squad. We need it so that if we are missing someone like a Martinez or like I know Varane's moved on, but Casemiro's moving on or whatever, we've got players coming in who aren't making the debut, or players coming in who've got a bit of experience, a bit of pedigree. Hopefully, some Premier League experience as well, because some of the players that we've brought over to the Premier League just haven't been good enough.
Look, just lastly, how much credit has he got in the bank with the fans? Because say you start the season poorly, I don't think it's going to be long before they turn.
Yeah, I think that FA Cup win, obviously, the fans were buzzing. I was there, everyone was sort of over the moon, and it's great, but that doesn't last forever. And if you start, like you say, because of the last season's league performances, if by Christmas you're in 8th again, people are going to look at it and go, he's just not that guy. So I think there's always pressure as a United manager. If any United manager loses 3 games on the spin, he's going to be in trouble. But I think Erik Ten Hag more so because of the league performance last season. He's got to have a good start next season. He has, because if he doesn't, especially the way Ineos have gone about it doesn't seem like they were dead set on it because they've been interviewing loads of other managers, then he's going to be under a lot of pressure, and I think a few of the fans will turn.
The Sports Bar with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy, Monday to Thursday nights from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.